Hello and welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsay and Krista. We are here live in LA in our little studio. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. If you're new to Almost 30, welcome. This is kind of where we kiki about life and all the things, all the change that we are currently going through. We started during a period of massive change in our late 20s. So if you're going through that, we see you, we feel you. We also have a book for you. We have a book coming out in June. It's called Almost 30, A Definitive Guide to a Life You Love for the Next Decade and Beyond. We're so proud of it. But yeah, today's conversation I'm super excited about. This is with Bri Melanson, one of our dear friends.
We're running on fumes.
Running on fumes,
We are
baby.
been shooting a lot of content and stuff. We're updating our social strategy. We have a new social team and vision, and they're just the best. I haven't felt this excited about our team in a long time. Not that our team is always just incredible, but whenever you bring in new energy for like new projects and stuff, it's just really nice to see where you can go. And our new girl is she's pushing us to the limit. My sister is like,
Soph is the best. Soph is like
her little social brain. Dude. She's like, that's right, mama. And she does her little like, and I'm like, I need that. Like,
I know, me too.
You can kind of like, sometimes I can tune in and you can talk in memes where you're like, oh, did you see this one thing? Like, it's just like when your brain is chronically online and you're like tapping into the alternate universe of it. So we had to do just wild and crazy shoots this week, like doing the silliest things I've ever.
Yeah, man. I felt silly in the moment, but I knew, I was like, I know you're going to, like, she takes care and she understands.
Oh,
and I think too, this is going to be a side of us that you haven't seen on social. And I hope it brings like a lot of joy and laughter and not like trying too hard.
Yeah. You guys let us know. Cause sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to be like, I can't be like making so much content. I need to like make money. I need to be an adult. Like I need to like worry about my gas bill. But yeah, it's been so much fun this week. And we were even dancing in the street, whatever.
Yeah, dude. When I saw you dancing in the street in the dress.
Did you see it?
I was like, this is amazing.
I also have a hot neighbor that I'm trying to suss out what his vibe is. And I had to dance in front of his working window. And that was, I don't think he will find it attractive of me. Even though it might look good in the dress. I don't think he'll be like, whoa.
He's intrigued. I think he's
confused.
Intrigued. He's like, she's either a...
Oh,
yeah. I don't know.
Dude, I mean, he's probably like, dummy.
We're literally, you had one in the street, I had one in the street. I'm like belting wide open spaces, which is like kind of a nod to the book or whatever. And I'm like, I fucking hope this looks good. I hope this like works.
Yours was good.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
So I had to dance in the street and I put on this dress because she's like, wear something feminine and light. And I was like, okay. And then I had a guy coming over and I was like, of course, kept my dress on. And he came over and I was like, oh, I've got to change.
You're like, I just finished working 2 hours ago.
I just finished working. And he was like, I was 30 minutes late. I'm like, oh. What are you doing here? Oldest game in the book, dude. I was like, dude, the oldest trick in the book.
Where you keep the hot thing on. I just remember like, I would try so hard to look so chill, but what got me there was absolutely not chill. Does that make sense?
So gosh, don't tell me more.
Like I'm wearing like baggy sweatpants and like a tight top, but like
with like Calvin Klein underwear loose, like lower.
I tried on 8 different combinations. Yeah. I made sure like everything was like moisturized or shaved or whatever. You know, it's like, okay.
I remember at the beginning of my dating journey, meeting someone and like being like fully shaved, like full body was just like stunning. And this man was like an actual alcoholic, worked at like an alcohol rehab center.
Wait, what does that have to do with it?
What it has to do with it was that I was fully shaved, ready, locked and loaded.
Okay.
For like nothing. Because, he ghosted me.
Oh, he ghosted. Oh, that's
Guys,
right.
This is the beginning. This was the beginning of the journey. We are now up where we should be almost.
Yeah, but that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to
be deaf.
Plunk around and just be like, what's out here? And
girl, that was so fucking crazy.
To be ghosted is actually kind of crazy.
God, you know what? Hey guys, this is my quote for you. I'm going to look in the camera. It's not guys ghosting you, it's God. When they are ghosting you, that is God, okay? God is removing that man from your life by him ghosting you.
Yeah, thank God.
Every man that's ghosted me, 2. Well, I don't know if they reach back out if that count. I don't know. 2 maybe. God. God was like, Jesus, Lord.
Yeah, no.
What do you want from me? He's like, oh, I didn't see this one.
He's like, I know. He's like, that was technically me too.
Yeah.
Like, I am in everyone.
Yes. He's like, well, this is one way to God. This is one way back to me. Okay, so today on the podcast, we have a dear friend of mine, Bree Melanson.
Love Breezy.
Love Breezy. I think Bree stayed with me this trip. And we got to record, which is she did, which was so fun. And like, dang, we cruise, me and Bree, we just cruise. I love her so much. She's so deeply spiritual, so fun, so playful, so much levity. She's such a Scorpio. She's such a really powerful teacher. And I have many women in my life and I have many places for advice, but she's definitely the advice giver when I want potency. And when I want truth, when I want to really sit with it. And I actually really enjoy her giving me advice at times because we'll kind of tussle a little bit. Like I'll like fight her. I'm like, oh, I know, like, like it's nice because I'll be able to allow the parts of me that are resistant to a higher level of truth be present. And we'll kind of like have moments with it and like kind of spar. Which is really fun. But Bree is a channel. She is a spiritual teacher. She is a medium. She's been someone that's been featured on Gaia. She's been on our show. She has her own platform. She has psychic boot camp. So she helps people tap into their psychic gifts. And in this episode, I wanted to talk about soul manifestation. So she teaches a practice of manifestation called soul manifestation. And in it, we go through her process of soul manifestation. So you'll be able to really tap in and tune into what that means for you and what that process could be like for you to really align not only to what you want from your life, but really what your soul is calling for you and what your soul is calling to move through you.
What do you feel like is a soul manifestation that you've had recently? Without divulging too much.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, no. I would say the my home. My home. When I finally when we think about soul manifestation, my ego manifestation was home with my man, getting a home to be in with my man. And when I dropped that and said, God, if I'm meant to have a home, have me have a home. And then, a week later, I'm moving into a home. So it's just like the ego is like, I want this thing in this specific way, in this specific like journey, like it has to look this way, whatever that is. And when I was just able to be like, you know what, if I'm meant to be, my frequency is meant to be in a home, and the way I'm going to bring more through, the way I'll have more love, like more people in my life, like I'll be able to cultivate more goodness through my home, through this. So I think the home for sure.
Yeah. I feel like it came in so quickly.
So quickly. Yours too.
Yeah. I mean, not surprisingly, Krista and I moved at the same time without planning it.
You guys want to hear something crazy? So Lindsay was like, I was in New York and she's like, we're looking at places. I was like, I'm thinking about moving. And I had looked at 2 places in the Palisades. Not going to say what happened to those places, but I was like, I think I'm moving. I think I'm going to move too. Lindsay got the place. We were on the phone. You're like, we got the place. And I hadn't got my place yet. And so I was like, right when you said that, I was like, I'm going to get my place. And literally the next day I got my place because you moved at the exact same time that I did.
Yeah, literally.
Crazy.
So crazy. So crazy. Yeah, I take moves. Moves have always been kind of a little nod from God of like, next level.
That's facts.
Here we go. Are you ready? And we weren't planning to move, but Sean and I had always just agreed that like we do need more space. Like we're kind of open to when that happens. Logistically, this wasn't like the prime time. It was the middle of winter, beginning of January. Like we would be getting out of our lease 5 months early. Didn't know if they'd let us out. But we found the perfect place, and this like size of place isn't very common where we live. So it was just like the size, the location. We wouldn't have to change too much about like Mav's life in terms of like
how close it is to your old place is insane.
Yeah, we could still go to the same playgrounds. We had the same play dates, all of that. But it did feel I think this is what I'm experiencing now, like in a marriage, like you manifest together. And it felt like quite a big up level for both of us for different reasons. And we were having some similar experiences. And then he was having a different experience as far as like, wow, I kind of like want to dot my I's and cross my T's in terms of like, I want to make sure that we can afford this and still maintain our lifestyle, yada, yada, yada. So I appreciated that like kind of masculine part of it of like making sure. But it was like actually my up level to really not convince him, but just like look him in the eye and be like, I think we need to trust that this is presenting itself in this moment. And I know that like we are going to fill this home. You know, it's not just like fill home with things. It's like you were saying with like, this is going to be the place that we have another child. This is going to be the place where, you know, in a career sense for both of us, things are going to happen. We are going to bring in more community. There's literally more space to have people. Like it's just, so it was a cool moment because I think, you know, we've had many manifestations together. So to kind of think of manifestations too as like a partnered or collective thing is actually really interesting as well. Like many souls coming together.
Yeah, that's why you need to be aligned with your partner on your life, dude. The things I want to say, but I won't say. All I want you guys to know is that you got to be aligned with your manifestations, okay?
Yeah.
Because at the end of my previous relationships, whatever relationships that was, if I was 15, if I was 18, if I was 20, 5, dude, if the manifestations are not aligned, y'all are going to run into a wall.
That's true. It's very true.
Let's cruise into this.
Let's cruise.
Okay, let's cruise in this episode with Bree. Again, this is Bree Melanson, dear friend. You can find her at BreeMelanson.com, Bree Melanson on Instagram. She's been on the podcast before. We did a really beautiful episode with her.
She's done our events.
She's done our events, yes. And we're going to be doing more events this year for our book. So Almost 30 book is coming out this year. I've been reading it all week and I'm undone. It's so good.
I know.
And I'm not, you guys, the standards I have for myself in my life are painful. It's hard to live up to my own standards.
Yeah.
Everything could be better. And this book is so good. It's here to support you in your journey, in your evolution, in your process of growth, especially if you're in your later 20s, or if you're someone that feels lost. It is like our ultimate guidebook for change and transformation, how to navigate, how to grow through it, how to glow up through it. And I'm really, really excited. So almost30.com/book. We have tons of pre-order incentives. So make sure you pre-order it. The book comes out in June. We have camp, which has amazing guests and speakers in it. It's kind of crazy, our lineup. We have a Saturn Return Masterclass for people that buy 2. And then we have our Saturn Return Guide. So you want to figure out the exact changes and transformation parts that hit your aspects of Saturn in the planets and houses. Check out our guide.
Amazing. Thanks y'all for watching, for listening. We'll see you on the other side.
Love you.
Bye.
Okay, I have been on my organ meats game. I've been taking the grass-fed organ complex from Paleo Valley 4 months now. Now you might be asking like, why organs? I know, but it is well documented as the most nutrient-dense superfood in the world. Pretty incredible. Our ancestors knew this, but many medical experts now consider it to be the ultimate paleo superfood. So Paleo Valley created this grass-fed organ complex to make getting a full spectrum of these traditional superfoods loaded with nutrients into your body faster, easier, and without having to tolerate the taste. Because honestly, I cannot do like liver or anything like that. I've tried to cook it. It's freaking terrible. Why do I love Paleo Valley? They are just doing it right. They are truly committed to knowing and understanding and being high touch on the origins of their ingredients. They have very stringent standards for purity and nutritional value. They partner with farmers and producers who share their dedication to regenerative agriculture and ethical sourcing. They just do it right, and you can taste it in the products. So this organ complex is from healthy grass-fed pasture-raised cows, so you're getting a more diverse array of nutrients. Most other similar products only contain 1 organ, usually liver, and it's spray dried at high temperatures. So this is gently freeze dried in order to preserve as many of these nutrients as possible. So beef liver, for example, it's an excellent source of vitamin A, B2, B3, B5, B6, 9, and 12. It's also rich in minerals like iron and phosphorus, zinc, copper, and selenium. It is just packed, and I am so excited for you to try because it will help with fatigue, skin issues, support those with iron issues like anemia. And it's just a really rich source of so many vitamins and minerals. So you can almost consider it like nature's multivitamin. So I'm excited for you to try that one. I also love their meat sticks. Oh my gosh, y'all. Can I just say that? Beef and turkey and chicken and venison sticks, they are delicious. I just tried their venison sticks. Oh, this is like my new thing. They are so delicious. It's seasoned with organic spices and preserved through the art of natural fermentation rather than artificial preservatives. They're super clean, guilt-free. You are going to love it, packed with protein. So anyway, Paleo Valley has an incredible array of products that I love so much, I trust so much, and you can get a discount. You know us. We're always going to provide a discount for y'all. So you can go to paleovalley.com/almost30 for 15% off your order. That's paleovalley.com/almost30 for 15% off your order. Yo, when I find underwear and bras that I like, I am loyal. And I've been loyal and buying Skims for years and years now. I cannot recommend this brand enough. My friends are probably like, okay, we get it. Like, I've ordered, got it. I am obsessed with their thongs. So I'm a girly that like for years kind of didn't buy thongs. I was like, they're so uncomfortable. Like, no one's making them right. I want to feel like I have nothing on, but still wearing underwear. But when I found the Skims Fits Everybody dipped front thong, hello, it was amazing. It basically molded to my body. It stretched with me through pregnancy. I still wear the same freaking underwear. I feel like I'm wearing nothing at all. It is so great to wear with all my clothes. And I'm just so thankful because I don't want to be wearing underwear that I can actually feel restricting my body, whether it's bras or undies. So I turn to Skims every single time. To bed, I'll wear the Fits Everybody full brief. I just like a coverage, it's like my go-to. I just bought a ton of them. I have them in a bunch of like neutral colors like blacks and browns and neutrals, but I love it. It's just like this really nice coverage. I feel comfy and cozy. I think you're going to be obsessed. As far as bras go, I love the Fits Everybody Scoop Bralette. After I stopped breastfeeding, my boobs just needed a little bit more support. If you know, you know. And this product like really got me through those days and beyond. So I'm recommending this to all of my mom friends. But anyway, shop Skims. They're the best. Literally the best intimates, including the Fits Everybody collection and more at skims.com. Skims New York flagship on Fifth Avenue is now open. I am dying to go. I just haven't had a moment, but I am going to go. So again, shop Skims. Amazing intimates. The Fits Everybody collection is my fave. Go to skims.com/almost30.
Grateful to have you here. I'd love, maybe we could do a little prayer before we get started just to ground our energy, because before, it was funny, since Bree's been staying with me, I was telling her this morning before we were recording, I still get nervous before I record, and my nervousness presents as anxiety. And I don't experience anxiety really, but it's like I kind of fly around. I get nervous. I kind of just get active. Like I'll start cleaning and doing stuff. And it was nice because you were feeling a little nervous too.
Yeah, I always do. And I actually shared that with somebody else the other day because I facilitate and teach a lot and I love it. And it's one of my favorite things. But she was interviewing me for a podcast and I was like, oh, I get a little nervous. She was like, you? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like, because I care.
Yeah. Yes.
I think because I care, and I don't know why I still get, I don't always, but I do still.
Yeah. I think, and we were talking about it earlier too, that if I, have a mic and an opportunity to speak to a number of people for a small container of time, I have a genuine intention to want to offer as much as I can. And then there's the part of me that like over prepares and gets in my head. And I think that's what creates it. And I'm just trying to find a little bit more trust in myself while also being prepared.
Yeah.
And I'm just in that balance. And thankful for this opportunity to move through it.
I love you. Yeah, I think with speaking, it's like preparing before so that the day of and and the morning of, you're not doing preparation.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of in it and in the flow. And it's almost like too late to prepare. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was always that part of me that was wanting to be super valuable or perfect or say the right thing had to chill because I'm so much better when you're relaxed and you know what you're talking about more than anybody, you know?
Yeah. And then intention always helps me too. Like, what is the deepest, purest intention? Because then you're essentially diluting all of your egoic static and doubts or needs or whatever.
Yeah. What's your intention today?
My intention is to makes me cry.
My girl cries. One thing about my girl, she's going to cry. We were crying earlier today.
It's usually just in the beginning too when I start something like a class, but and you like first drop into your heart.
Yeah.
And I think too sometimes I feel my connection to others in a way. But my intention I think is always to remind people who they really are and just ping the hearts of people from my purest heart. And I think we're all here essentially as stewards of light and source. And that's always, I think also my primary. How about you?
So interesting so my intention today, I'm excited to have a more spiritual kind of out there conversation that I haven't had in a long time. Back to my spiritual self, because I've actually been reminded of the collective awakening a little bit more than normal. I was with my dear friend Jenna in Paris recently, and we were just kind of tuning into things with the collective, and she's more in touch with kind of what's going on. As far as that, I'm really in my own world. I kind of stay just in my vicinity. I don't really look up much anymore. But it was really helpful because I was being reminded of how many people are waking up. And I just was reminded that like I woke up before to be prepared for this time. And I've sort of given up talking so much about spirituality and certain topics in certain ways because I'm in my essence and the way that I live is a natural spirituality that doesn't need to be explained or contained or practiced or ritualized. Like my experience is always spiritual. So it's kind of moved away from the norm of what people consider spirituality. But I was reminded of how many people need support during this time as they're awakening. And it kind of reinvigorated me to talk more about these spiritual topics for people that are newly discovering their soul or spirituality or the path or God or are on their awakening.
Yeah. And it's an eternal process.
Yeah.
And I too have to remind myself because it can feel so isolating and frustrating to see things in a different way than the majority.
Yes.
And actually once a horse, I connected with this horse and it shared this with me and it totally rocked me because I had never, it basically shared that leaders are acutely aware. And I never saw like my ability to really observe things and be like hyper aware as a leadership quality. I always like considered that as like shyness or something that was just, not necessarily a way in which you would lead, but it made so much sense within a herd.
Yeah.
They have like the matriarch that kind of keeps track of what's going on and then gives the cue. And yeah, that really stuck with me. And I've been trying to share it with people too, that, your sensitivities or the way that you see in which the world, if it's different, leaders are usually the outsiders. And that can be an array of ways. It may be, just a way that you move through life.
And when I think about leadership too, it's almost like people think about being self-led first before leading others, but also the sensitivity thing, when I think about my path, it's like the traumas that I experienced that made me hypervigilant or made me attuned to people or made me read people's minds because I was trying to get information or I was trying to understand or trying to find peace. Those are now so much of the gifts that I can use with people. And I think for so many of the people that are waking up, that are sensitive, that are empaths, that are people that are deep feelers, it's like now that we're moving into 4D, into the heart, and we're really coming into this space of greater collective love, it's like all of these gifts are now going to be what you will use and what you will serve with in a way that's going to be really beautiful. And I think in a way that's no longer going to abuse you or take advantage of you. But that's why it's so important for the work I'm doing now with my clients or others about getting out of codependency, getting out of self-abandonment, getting out of these patterns and ways so that you actually can use your gifts or the things that you've kind of walked into earth with in service.
Yeah, I think our greatest skills in the future will be essentially the ability to connect with, your soul, which is that unconditioned self. It's like your purest essence. And that is your source for innovation, for adaptation, for resilience, for creativity, for guidance. And is essentially the same thing that you're saying, is to be able to really feel into what is mine. In some sense in feelings, but then again, I also think that we don't really feel anything that's not within our vibration already. So then it's always our work to just be like, okay, what is this? It's not about like saging the negative people away or their energy. But yeah, and then also just with beliefs.
Can you break that down more and like double click on that in a way that's really tactical? Because I think people might miss what you're saying, and I really believe that what you're saying.
So I guess I would start with the greater truth that everything exists in the name of like evolution and expansion. Everything like on earth, like nature, it seeks to expand and evolve. And all of our experiences offer an invitation for us to evolve and expand. And so when we have, maybe like a negative emotion, or in this case, when people are aware that they are sensitive or an empath, we are sentient beings, and we like really are meant to feel our way through this life. It is our greatest navigational tool. And then there's this notion, like for me, when I go into a city and I can be aware that it is a little bit overwhelming, it's still my work to ground and maybe even consider like, why is there judgment here? Am I deeming the city as chaotic, or, whatever it is? Do I need to declare that I don't like this in order to know what I do value? So that's my work to essentially create peace, because if our peace is reliant on an external condition, we would never know peace. So I'm not saying that we don't feel the other people's emotions, but I think that sometimes the way that we say, I just feel everybody's stuff, it doesn't really empower us to step into a more powerful, like empowered state. And so when we are experiencing an emotion, because we are experiencing it, it somehow is active within our field.
It's a match.
Yeah. And so then the inquiry is just, what is this within me that's making me feel this? And then it's quite later. When you are imbalanced as an empath, usually there's subconscious beliefs that are around, I have to take on other people's emotions in order to be safe. And we all have these things they're coping mechanisms that we learned being on this earth, trying to figure things out. But usually there's something at play around, I have to feel this in order to whatever. Like I would always get really emotional when I would see people that were suffering.
Yes.
And again, that's not a bad thing. But it was a little bit imbalanced where I would like cry in a grocery store or whatever. And so I just learned to recognize that I could offer compassion and even like surround that, whatever helped to surround that person with light, maybe not my light, and again, like there's nothing wrong with doing that either, but whatever works for you to realize what you're trying to achieve on a maybe more unconscious level. And in that grocery store, that example is kind of like, I want to honor them and I want to have compassion for them. And I don't need to feel that pain in order to do that.
Yeah.
And so just being softly aware of like, how does that maybe play out? The ego is a great thing. It is our amigo. It is like the vehicle for our soul to express. And it's what we decided to come here and be a part of duality. And when we are in imbalance, essentially we are leading with the ego, and it's like, it's just not supposed to drive. And so, just recognizing that when you're in imbalance, it just means that the ego is has gotten in the driver's seat. And then, yes, in this case, you're recognizing how it's driving. And then, all of our healing is really around, what does it mean to return to my whole self, or my soul, or my unconditioned self, the unconditional.
Yeah, I love so much of what you said. And I just really so strongly believe about the match thing, because I think so often people that are sensitive, or people even on the internet today, are like, they're a toxic person, kind of labeling other people. But if that person's in your field, somehow they're a match for you, and somehow your soul has said yes to them. So how can we take responsibility for our own experience and the subconscious giving of consent of them to be in your experience, and then making it conscious to move out of it? But there was someone that I'm really good now with not taking on anyone else's energy. I'm in the moment with people when I feel their energy changing and sending it back, or not consenting to take it on. But there was someone that I'm talking to that when I was with him, I noticed myself a few times feeling something that wasn't mine when I left. And I noticed that because I wanted to have deeper connection with this person, I was choosing to subconsciously take on their stuff. And my boundaries were like super loose. So I was like, wow, I left and I felt really off, and I felt horrible because they were having off days and were horrible. But because I wanted the attachment, I wanted that connection, I was willing to say yes subconsciously to taking on their stuff. And I was like, wow, what a lesson for me to be mindful of that, because I can even still take people's stuff on. And for most of my life, it was taking on other people's stuff as a means of safety, and as a means of, this is my worth to process for other people. And for a lot of people that are waking up, that are healers, that are empaths, that are starseeds, whatever you want to call it, they will be processing a lot of karma for the earth, and they will be processing a lot of energy for the earth as a service to the collective, but it's being mindful and in choice of it.
And it's so empowering, because essentially you're kind of talking about, pain equals intimacy, which is also very common on unconscious.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. And then that can go both ways, right? You feel my pain, you love me. I feel your pain, you love me. Or, and then just considering, how do I want to reframe intimacy? What is it really?
Yes.
What is the highest definition and purpose of it?
Yes.
What does it feel like? What does it allow for?
Yep.
And what does it look like for me if I were to adopt that higher definition, and what's possible?
Yep.
And then you're like in a whole nother dimension once you when you really start kind of like gnawing on it.
Yeah. Because true intimacy now is like to the sovereign expression of you being in sovereignty and choice of like what's happening in a space, rather than the unconscious codependency or things for safety. It's like in sovereign choice and expression of being here and now and choosing each person. How would you describe it?
Intimacy?
Yeah.
Well, I was just, as you were talking, I was like, wanted to also share, just for context, that so I did intuitive readings for like a decade, and then I'd always be focused on belief work, because it's one thing. Like, I would also always tell people their ideal future, like they would ask a question, and then I would see this, scene, and they were like, yeah, I know. They would always be like, yeah, I know,
oh my gosh, I know.
It's within us, right?
Yes.
I'm like, well, what are you calling me for? But I was really passionate about like, well, how do we get you there? Like, what are the beliefs that are at play? And when you do, like thousands of readings, you start seeing all the patterns. And it really is quite simple in that the ego is always, like, I like to call it the negotiator, because it is the part that is linear and that is like contained within conditions, timelines, outcomes, all these linear conditional specifics. And so it's always going to be in negotiation for basically love or safety. And it really just comes down to that. It's like, what do I got to do to get the love? If it's success, it might be like, I have to please others in order to survive, in order to be safe, essentially. And I think that's like spot on, that is, an egoic or antiquated idea of intimacy. So yeah, I feel like for me, intimacy has a lot to do with transparency. And it would be in a way like continually freeing yourself from those layers and of like, oh, I have to do this to get loved, or just even noticing in the body when you're feeling like you close or you're overreaching, because the ego will always like, close down or overreach.
Yep.
And just being aware in those moments of like, yeah, what old part of me is doing that, and what's the new habit or behavior? How can I soften and how can I show up purely and transparently? Like, yeah, freeing ourselves and from those layers, and that's what would allow for the depth of it, right? Of intimacy
and the conditioning, freeing ourselves of the layers and conditioning, which is huge. One of the things with the soul too is the soul manifestation. I know you do soul manifestation, and I feel like it's such a powerful practice. And so many people want to create a life that they love, and they want to live beautifully, and they want to live expansively, but they're not really sure how. So how can we use our soul to manifest?
I a couple years ago, I feel like I like cracked a code, and it's been so powerful, and I want to share all that I can about it. And it's also just really easy. And I think we are consciously moving out of a way of how we would kind of sell or talk about manifestation, right? And I think, all of our desires and the reason that we are here is to remember our wholeness. But, it's true. It's like, it's why we pursue success, because we want to know our greater potential. It's why we pursue love, because we want to remember that feeling of wholeness and the remembrance. And I think that's what love is essentially, is like, it's recognizing source in a sunset or in the person before you. And then again, the ego gets involved and puts like a bunch of Post-it notes and needs and stuff. So to connect with our soul, I mean, I guess the first thing is to just, define that for yourself. And nobody's here to define God or your soul. But maybe that's just like doing some writing or taking some time. But the way that I look at it is like, it is our unconditioned self. It's like our most original imprint. It is also like, it's helpful to think of, when might I experience the essence of my soul? It's like when you're alone in nature, when you are in the creative zone, when you essentially like your highest moments in life have been your truest moments, because the ego, if you think about your highest moments, your ego wasn't there, right? It was gone. And so recognizing when I feel the presence of my soul and just kind of defining it for yourself. And it's not this, I mean, it is an ethereal thing, but our souls work through literally every part of us and through our body, and is always in communication with us, and is like that essence of us that we occasionally come home to, that is soft and that is peaceful, and it is there no matter how far we astray, right? So the soul is also our tether to source. It's like our personal tether. And because of that, it resonates in like these universal laws of harmony and evolution and the unconditional. So the soul and all of life seeks to essentially harmonize, to become that essence. And it exists within the unconditional. So it exists beyond the constructs of time and space. And it is, in essence, creative because of that. So creation really consists of three things, or manifestation. It's energy, it's consciousness, or perception. So let's say the energy of creation runs through us, just like it does all things. If we look at nature, all things are held by this intelligent harmony. And how could it not also run through us immaculately? So considering that energy is always running through us as an infinite well, and then the perception or the consciousness part is how we are deciding to direct that, right? Our thoughts, or you could say our beliefs. And so then the perception piece is looking at like when we do get triggered and when we have these negative emotions, as we call them, recognizing that they are invitations from our soul and source. They are telling us exactly where and to what degree we can turn more towards our wholeness and the truth of source, harmony, etc. And then accepting those invitations, because it's not enough to just know these spiritual concepts,
Yeah.
and it's not also just acting as if, but that could be
Yeah.
a part of it.
Yeah.
Because acting as if can be a thing, can like help,
Mhm.
but it's a lot bigger than that, I think. But I did this practice for like 3 weeks, and a friend turned me on to it, and then I kind of catered it a little bit to my work or whatever. And the things that manifested were so wild. Like so I finished the 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and it essentially was like I was aware that my heart, our hearts are our channel for manifestation and co-creation. Like judgment blocks our field, and when we are trying to create just from the ego, we unconsciously create static in our field. So it's totally okay to say, I want a, $10 million house. I want like all these specific things. But of course, we have ideas about what it takes for those to come to us, or, again, how we have to negotiate the time, the work, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is so long-winded, but when you're, again, working with the soul, you're surpassing all of those blocks, and you begin to like lock into the field of creation to create. And it's just so much more expansive than what we could imagine. So basically the universe will be like, do you want to just skip the line, babe? But again, when you start working with the energetics and like these higher laws that don't have conditions within them, you begin to work with the energy of creation. And this will be really quick. What I basically did was, and I have something on my site called the 30-day ritual, and I rinse and repeat, and like stuff always manifests, and it's wild. You create a soul-based desire, and every day for 30 days, you essentially connect with these higher truths that don't contain conditions. So say if my 30 days was around creating a home, I would feel into what do I feel like? Like if I have that, what do I feel like? I feel, and this is individual, but maybe I feel like I am held by the arms of source, immaculate, always lead, in every moment, or my light is the light of creation, or I am, my destiny is to expand. And you kind of just feel into what gets you into that resonance that doesn't introduce the conditions, because again, you're working with the laws of creation. So you come back to these, what I call energetic anchors, and you come back to them 3 times a day. And then you do a meditation. So you're getting in resonance with that. You're working with the energetics. And there's a writing component where there's writing prompts that get you in the higher consciousness of soul or source. And then the anchors bring you into that embodiment. And again, it's just so wild what happens when you align with these like higher laws, the higher consciousness and the energetics, and you really activate all the information in the field. And it's so wild what like comes back. And it's an easy way to think about it too, is just like, well, who's better for the job, your ego or the intelligence that is creation?
Totally.
Right?
It's
Sorry,
huge.
that's so long-winded, but
yeah, I think something you were talking about was resonating for me. It was something I was reading in A Course in Miracles today. So A Course in Miracles, I read almost every day. And in this section, it was talking about how what stops us from manifesting a lot of times is our belief that manifesting one thing is harder than the other. That we believe that for God, it's going to be harder for him to manifest me being a New York Times bestseller than it would be to manifest like me getting a free shirt. And like how much we can really hold back what we're wanting and desiring by putting a hierarchy of our manifestations of this is easy, this is hard. And I was really sitting with that today because I can manifest things like if I think about something for a second, I'm like, oh, I kind of want this thing. It'll be delivered at my door from a brand or whatever. But there's so many things I've kept in escrow as far as my manifestations because it's felt too much or too hard for me, or I've wanted it so much that it's actually created the separation because in my desiring and wanting, it's saying I don't have. And so that's creating this space between me and it where it's just like keeping me further and further away. And so I love that piece of having creation or having source or having God be this place that we go because that is the creator of all. And there's no hard or easy for the creator. There's no hard or easy for God. And especially when it's destined for our soul. Like a lot of the women that I work with, I'm like, you are here to serve. And there's no way that God's not going to help someone that's here to serve. Like there's no way that God is not going to gift someone that is here in service. And I think that for myself too. And that was something that I had to actually really embody as I started to create more abundance was that reminder of my worthiness of receiving the manifestations and gifts because I am here to serve. The more you can align to your service and your truth, the more you will be gifted because you're in your worth around receiving it. Where I'm like, oh, I actually live in service, so I deserve to be resourced. I deserve to be gifted these things in alignment. So I really love that. I love the tactical exercises too of writing and really allowing the soul to speak and come through for people because I think for people that haven't connected with their soul, you kind of need that support of really being in there to listen.
Yeah. And just asking questions like, what are my heart's desires or what's possible beyond judgment?
I think too with that, you have to you have to really get quiet because I know so many people, I can hear their inner critic and they're part of them that keeps them small always come online. Like I can hear it when I'm working with women at retreats. Like you'll ask that and I can hear the part of them that's like too big, too much. You kind of have to poke a little bit. Like it's like, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger. I was working with a woman yesterday and she said her desire for her life. And I was like, bigger, like what's bigger, what's bigger? And then she said in the end, she wants to be like the next Brene Brown. I'm like, great, sounds good. Like we got to that point by breaking through the part of you that continues to doubt and even that ego that gets sneaky in there of denying the truth of what your soul wants.
I really think the new focus of wellness is going to be at the cellular level when it comes to products and practices. So I'm really excited to be sharing an incredible supplement that I have been taking from a brand called Timeline. It's called MitoPure. And MitoPure is a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A. So it works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria. So it really just like cleans out your cells. And I'm sure you remember the word mitochondria from your science class when you were younger. That is your cell's battery pack. So it's incredibly important that we are taking care of ourselves on a cellular level. I have seen a difference in my energy levels and I've been working out more. I am kind of on a tip right now and just getting in my workouts. And I am experiencing better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance. And so I'm just loving this supplement. Not all supplements that I try or take, I'm like, this is working. This one, it's super, super powerful. And if you're interested in well-being for a long life, I think some people are like, yeah, I want to live long, but like, are we actually focusing on being healthy through those later years in our life? Cellular health is it. So I'm really excited for you to try. I adore this brand. I also try their skincare and have just seen incredible results. Their night cream, their day cream. Go to timeline.com/almost30 and get 10% off your order of MitoPure. It is phenomenal. Timeline.com/almost30. That's TIMELINE.com/almost30. And you're going to get 10% off your order of MitoPure.
Yeah, I think service is such a great lens and it encapsulates all those like, it's why we're here to, I think it's like Ram Dass, walk everybody home.
Yeah.
It's also such a powerful healer because when we're truly in service, again, we've diluted the ego. We're not giving or receiving.
Yeah.
And then to look at, when you do have these big visions, then what? Like, then how do you get to be of service? And if we can align with the purity of that, the end goal can be even bigger than what we're imagining. That's what I've experienced so far.
Yes,
it's like,
100%.
This is the biggest thing. But what happens when I really get in service and even just visiting that for yourself. What does service mean to me?
That's a good one. What does service mean?
Yeah. And also like within my innate nature, how am I best of service? How do I find myself serving my friends? Like what comes easy?
Yes.
Because sometimes I think we also get tripped up on purpose and saving the world.
Oh my gosh. Girl.
When it's really just about, I think our purpose is to allow for our purest essence to come forth, period. And it's what we've been talking about around freeing ourselves from our conditioning, from moving through the fear, through the emotions to the other side. And that service piece, I think, when we look at the purest part of ourselves, we don't want to receive, we don't need to receive anything, right?
Yeah.
Like what does it mean? Even if it's like a project, I look at like, okay, what is the highest service of this? And then I go from there around creating it. Like how do
I think too, I'm curious if this is the case for you. For me too, with the highest service, sometimes I don't know. So like lately I've just been really sitting with the fact of like, God's not always telling me the plan. I just have to walk. It's like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm going here. It's going to be revealed to me at some point, maybe even after it's done. But oftentimes I think when I connect to my service, that's the case. And then also it's so weird because my service feels like neutrality. It doesn't feel like giving and taking. Right. It feels like full presence of the moment. And which is just, it's such a natural state for me because I used to do that with people. And I think when I really want people to think about purpose, it's like, what are you naturally doing right now that like is a service to the world, your friends and family, that maybe you're not monetizing or getting paid for or making part of your like offering to the world.
This physical life is a great experience.
Yeah.
And it's the way in which, again, we are desiring to remember our wholeness and our most unconditioned, free, expansive expression. And so every desire is to move towards that essence. So when you look at, I have this desire of wanting a certain amount of money or a particular, whatever it might be, it's when we look at that, it's really like, and then what?
Yes.
And then it really starts to point towards service, right? And then even if it's living by example, or because our resonance is a real thing. Again, we don't have to like save the world. But how can I then affect the people around me?
Yep.
Because like with money, again, we want it so that we are free to do blank.
Yep.
And that's like the quickest route to figuring out your quote unquote purpose, which again is really just your freest creative expression. So I think that's like a really great way to kind of shortcut it. And that's why that you hear that question all the time of like, if you had all the money in the world, then what would you do? Or you can just make it more morbid. Like if I knew I only had a certain time to live, how am I spending it? Like, what am I doing?
What would you do? I'm trying to think of what I'd do if I knew I was going to die.
And like how much time we got.
I guess I don't know what I'd be doing differently, to be honest. I'd probably be saying goodbye to people for a year. Telling everyone they were meaningful to me, giving them love, being appreciative, eating every single thing in sight.
And then you're so free.
Free.
It's wild that we're not generous with our love. You know?
Yeah. I feel free, but it's funny how many things are not free that you kind of, in our human minds, we don't see.
Yeah, because also if it is that, if we had a month to live, we would be having those card conversations. We would call that person and be like, hey, I'm really sorry and I want you to know how much I love you.
Yeah.
And this was silly, like whatever it was.
That's true.
And thank you for being this pillar in my life.
So true.
And you helped me in this way.
Yeah.
So that would be freeing you. Like then, you remove so many blocks.
Yeah.
And you would become clear. And
I think, I will say though too, that people on the other end would give you permission though, if they knew you were dying. You know what I mean?
Well, then that's part of the thing.
That's
you
part
can't
of the
tell
thing.
everybody you're
literally you could just be like, I'm dying. Can you please
You
forgive
can't
me?
say, yeah.
Literally, can you
You
please
call
forgive me?
everybody, yeah.
What do you see because I see this happening so much with people. It's like the obsession with purpose, trying to find their purpose. But I mean, I will be completely honest. It made me insane. My quest for my purpose. Like when I was in my first job in consulting in Chicago, I was so depressed and so anxious. And when I hit my rock bottom, when I was like, life is not for me, it was because I wanted to have purpose. I wanted to figure out what I was here for. I wanted to figure out what I was doing. I wanted to figure out like there had to be more than this. There had to be some type of, and it makes me kind of emotional thinking about it, some type of experience for me that would be meaningful for my soul, but I didn't know what it was. And it caused me so much grief and pain. And I know that wasn't the desire of my soul for that experience, but I needed like some sort of awakening.
Well, you were in the conditioning.
Yeah.
You were showing up, you were plugging yourself into the world that had been presented for you. And we all do that. And when I think about, what got me here today, it was just a bunch of small decisions towards my most intrinsic desires. Yeah.
It's
because
not the quitting. It's not burning everything down. It's honestly tons of small decisions.
And my decisions had nothing to do at first with intuition because it was totally off the table anyway. Like it was way too far. I came in really clear and intuitive, and we all do. Had to shut down those senses because it was like we're taking in so much anyway. But then on top of that, I had always, like, I made my parents go to crystal stores and buy me Ouija boards, and like I'd still talk about things. And that was always a part of my life, but it was so off the table for anything because it wasn't discussed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exemplified for me. So I didn't know that it was a possibility. But when I look back, it was like, well, it was what we've been talking about. It was like, my mom had gotten cancer when I was in college, like quite severe. And when we have hardship, or a big hardship, we lean into, because we can't lean into the physical. So it's like you want to. I was like, "Hey God, how you been, bro?"
Honestly,
like, and
you're like, I need something.
Yeah, I was like, how are you?
Checking in. But it's funny. Some people turn to God. Some people turn away.
Yeah, but eventually, whatever you want to call God, it's like I just essentially reopened myself, not necessarily psychically at first, but I started choosing life because of our greatest muse, death. And I'm like studied abroad in Spain, which like allowed me to show up differently. It like freed me. I got even more clear there. I was like, I pursued dance. Like I left college. I had like, I don't know, like a few credits or units left. And I walked and I was like, just kidding. I'm going to be a dancer because it was what I loved. And it made me feel alive.
Right.
And then when I moved to LA, there was a spiritual community. And so again, it was like, I was like, because I was too far away. And I'm sure you had the same experience. You like had to make some decisions on the way to where you are and where you will be. So I think, to not try to figure it out because it's not, it's so cheesy to be like, it's not the destination, but it really is in choosing the things that truly give you life and that make you feel alive. And it is scary to do because we're taught that it doesn't fit in this world. But at the same time, it's why we're here. It's like, what is going on right now? Like all these old structures are just falling collectively and then like within our lives. And it is hard, but when we lean into the soul, it's like the only path. It's the ultimate path and the only path. And having the courage to, follow the things that don't make sense, but do in the most way because they are filled with life essence. So how could they not?
I think what will happen oftentimes is people see someone else in their purpose, they perceive to be in their purpose, and then they'll use that as a blueprint for thinking it's their purpose. But it really is the things that oftentimes don't make sense that really bring you to the purpose, or the things that you're resisting. I resisted being a coach for so long. I had judgment about it. I felt like it was a scam. I was like, not a scam, but I just had judgment. And now it's such a part of my purpose. Like women's circles, so much judgment. I was like my nightmare on Elm Street. Please never put me in a women's circle. Now I'm like the front of the circle with all these women, just like doing my thing. Like,
I love it.
It's like, you know, we really have to go to the places either we're scared of or we have judgment of, or even that we're not sure why we're going, but we just go. And I think for other people, my path may look clear, but for me, it felt unknown, and now it still is unknown. You know, it never really feels clear, to be honest.
Yeah, mine was so slow. I was like, I was such a late bloomer.
How old?
Well, I didn't take my first intuitive class until like probably around my Saturn returns. Like,
totally.
I think I was 28.
Yeah, totally.
Which was a long time ago. Yeah, it was there. It's all about slow. I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think some people come in and they have like a genius kind of. That's a very small percentage of us that I think are just in that resonance. Yeah, it was super slow, and I had so much resistance because I'm really thankful that I didn't like. There were no examples for me. Like when I started, it was just like a random psychic that you would call, then a number like somebody had, and you didn't really talk about spirituality like you do now. And I'm super thankful for that because I couldn't compare.
Yeah.
But we all know that, again, like that greater piece around the intelligence that exists within us that holds the entire universe in harmony and beauty runs through us. And so we are encoded and imprinted with that perfect piece of just our greatest harmony and abundance and the collectives. And it's really just a matter of honoring that and listening to it and making space for it. And your truest, freest expression will be the most unique and the most abundant and the most loved and like all of it. It is like the key. And it's
and oftentimes the easiest.
Absolutely.
The easiest, the less friction, the easiest. But yeah, it's just funny because it's hard to get out of that conditioning. Like it says feel like you have to force it. And I feel so tenderly for people that want to find their purpose or like, you know, feel like they're on their purpose. But something you were saying was reminding me of that Yeshua channeling that you did where you were talking about the structures crumbling. So Bree's also a channel and she channels tons of different things.
Whoever you want to call.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoever you want to call. You've channeled for me. You've channeled for so many people in the world. You've done your series on Gaia on channeling, which has been so powerful. And when we were talking before doing this, I wanted you to bring the Yeshua channeling because you channeled Yeshua. So I'd love to share what came through and that. And Yeshua's Jesus.
So yeah, this is essentially touching on what we're moving through as a collective. This time, like all moments in time, is an opportunity for your ultimate ascension. Please hold this gently in your heart. And the path to awakening is an infinite journey. So although this time feels monumental, and it is more about the slow and steady awakening and softness that occurs within the heart. And you are learning that the structures within your collective society are not as stable as you have perceived them to be. But this is not good or bad, merely another invitation to a deeper faith and a greater truth. So as you gaze upon your future of your society, what is it that you wish to create? What do you wish to see and experience? Consider what is needed of others, but more importantly, what is needed of you. This is also your healing, the very transformation you have been asking for. So will you take the invitation to know God more deeply? That is to know that the flesh and bones of your body are also expressions of God. For how could one thing be sacred and another not? And when did you begin to believe that you were not made of light? What if this was exactly the time that you came for? What if everything was a perfect orchestra for the divine to be made more real and known more fully in form? Would you then rejoice in this? And what if you looked upon this time as a cleansing, not of others, but of the parts within you that remain tethered to the past, the part of you that seeks refuge in the conditional world. What if this time were only this? Jesus slays.
Jesus slays, crushes it every time. I love the piece on the body and how so many people have such issue with, guys, if you want to fucking kill me, you can. Every time. I'm like, so many people, everybody.
Other
like,
people.
Other people. Yeah,
To be
dude,
clear.
literally me my whole life, hating my body in my physical form. So I'll just speak for myself. Honestly, just hating their form, hating being a human, hating the human body and feeling disgust in it. So I just love that reminder of the perfection and beauty of our body from the creator. So can you tell us about channeling? Because I think people are curious about it. They don't know what it is. You know, there's different types of channeling, trance channeling, et cetera. So what is channeling?
You know, I have given you readings before, and I don't know if I've channeled before.
But I think so. Arcturians before for me, because I'm Arcturian. And I think it was like my man. Like you channeled my man.
I do remember.
Tell me what I'm
just gonna
give me a little lesson. Give me a lesson.
I'm gonna get the lights.
What am I not
Krista,
doing?
No, what I walked away with was like there was this whole essence of like, because your middle name was Lynn, right?
Crystalline.
And the crystallineness of you. And it's like this, essentially it was like the sooner you relax into, which again, I'm not saying that you didn't do,
Please call
but
me out.
the sooner that we can relax into our most innate self and that we're checking ourselves that we don't have to do anything in order to find it, get it, whatever. Because your purest, most relaxed essence, who you are with the people that you feel the most comfortable with, that's going to get them, that's going to bring them in. That's the magnetism. And again, I'm not saying that you're not doing it, but I walked away from that, I remember seeing the potential of the energy of like the next guy, or if it was your man, I don't remember what I said. And that was, for me, that was the biggest takeaway. And I think like, yeah. And I've also watched you like move through all these things and
I know,
become more and more crystalline. But
there was something else too with that, where I think there was some lesson that I needed to learn before that too, where it was like, there's something.
Should have listened.
I know, honestly, I'm still trying to.
So, but what my point was is like when we are doing an intuitive reading, it's different than channeling because I am receiving the information, I'm interpreting, I'm relaying it, which is, there's really great value in that because of our human nature, right? And it's completely different than channeling. I guess it's like, it's a different feeling because you are becoming the mic versus like having a three-way conversation. And that's the best way I know how to explain it, other than like reaching a radio channel. Like energetically you reach a state and you're allowing for a higher consciousness to speak through you. And of course, your vocabulary and your kind of your understanding of things can be a limitation or is used. So channeled information it'll always generally like speak from the we, because the consciousness is coming from the oneness consciousness. So even if you are talking to our boy, like you might hear we, right? It will always be kind of go within those laws of, you know, it's going to support harmony. It's going to inspire us to expand. It's going to resonate above the conditions. So when I channel, they're never, even if I'm like, what the heck's going on? Like, what about this very human thing? They don't really drop to the condition. They're always trying to get us to rise above so that we can understand the truth that will shift the conditions.
Right. So would you say it's a vibrational frequency that you're sort of pulling through your body and you're pulling from higher through your body to be channeled through?
Yeah. So the way that I kind of see it, and I'm not that visual, but, you know, we have these like energetic grids.
Yep.
And it's like I'm opening my grid, and I could say my body, you know, our bodies are extensions of that, to allow, it's almost like these highways of information in a way.
Right.
So you're allowing for that presence to come through kind of like your highways. And yes, your faculties are used, right? Your voice, your body. But I'm always in I don't like get into some crazy state and I'm like, oh, it can't come back. Like
Yes.
you're always aware and you can shift. It feels like being in a very deep meditative state,
Right.
maybe.
What advice would you say for people that want to channel? Like, do you think channeling's for everybody?
I'm like, buy psychic boot camp. No.
Yeah,
I'm just-
honestly, like I teach that.
No, but a good way to begin to open. I mean, we've talked about it so much because, it goes back to the energetics and the consciousness and the embodiment. Like the more we move towards our soul, the more open we are to receive that higher intelligence. But channeling specifically, something that I always recommend that feels kind of accessible is, we were talking earlier about free writing, and it is such a powerful modality because you begin to like bring in the witness, and it's different. So writing like a letter to your soul and being like, hey soul, this is what's going on. And then just getting in a soft space and pretending that your soul is writing you back. So you write, dear Krista, da 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 da. And like trying to really stay in your heart space versus your head. And you can feel the difference, literally just by taking a few breaths, intentionally dropping into your heart and your body and like your sentient intelligence. And you'll feel yourself going up to the energy of going up to your head. And just getting, again, like when you're pretending, you're trying on the perspective, you're opening your energetics to receive. So eventually you likely will start channeling the voice of your higher self. So I think it's like a really easy, segue to start. I also don't recommend, I did readings for many years before I started channeling, and I learned how to create boundaries. Like I used to always get haunted, and I'd have these because I didn't understand that you could kind of declare them and, just own your space. And so I had that experience. So I didn't have I've never had any issues with quote unquote like negative energies or not being able to, like thinking that, oh, it just happens to me and I don't have any control of it. And it was 2:00 and I was at lunch with so-and-so. Like, no, you're driving all the time and you declare this isn't a good time. Maybe tomorrow at 3 or whatever. Like, remembering that. And it's, I definitely held that belief. Like when somebody first told me that I could be a psychic, I was like, no, take that back, like cancel, clear, because I'd had so many experiences that felt, because I didn't know that you could, sort it out. Just because it's like unseen. So it feels weird. Right. But I think it's important to kind of, I just like warrant that. I'm like, I'm not saying it's dangerous, but I feel like there are things to be worked out.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah. To just
I completely agree.
Own your space.
Yeah.
And,
I think I only channel my highest self and I'll do in sessions, and it's in the safety of a container where I know it's like received and we're kind of on the same page. And sometimes when I'm speaking, but I just am always I want people to be mindful that, there's a lot of riffraff in the spiritual world and beings and entities that would love to move through us or speak through us. And so to be mindful, but it is such a beautiful thing to be able to experience this like love or experience your soul. And I think channeling the highest self or channeling these aspects of you can be so beautiful. I know Elizabeth Gilbert does something where she does, people write what would love say? And then people journal, what would love say? And she's been doing that every day. And this is just such a beautiful practice too, to kind of get you in that field of your heart and your truth. And
truth, capital T.
Capital T, truth of the writing. I should probably start doing that. I was like, I haven't written in a long time. I think my hands don't move fast enough.
Yeah, true. I get in that state. You could type. I used to think that because I sometimes channel write, and I was writing in a journal, and then I was like, this is taking too long.
Right.
So then I just thinking that the computer was not spiritual.
No, 100%. Yeah. I would think the same thing. I would I need a quill.
And also you may not need to reference those notes ever again either. Yes. So my writing's always really.
And you could just kind of be free. But I think that's such a beautiful practice for people to be journaling and for people to just be connecting in with their soul. Anything else about channeling that you think you want people to know?
I mean, I guess our ultimate goal is what we've been talking about is just channel our fullest God's
Yes.
self, our purest essence.
Yes.
Like why? That's it. That's why we're here.
Yes.
Like you don't have to save the world. There's nothing that you should be doing. You're exactly where you need to be. And yeah, when I look back, I see, we see the great orchestra. We're like, oh, I was learning this. Like we're always getting a piece that maybe isn't so apparent that we may need later. And yeah, it's the answer to literally every single thing is reconnecting with your soul.
Yeah.
We think we have blocks about money and romance, and we really just have our disconnection from that essence of ourself. And so in that way, it's easy. Healing is easy. Ascension is easy. All of it can be easy. We just have to be willing to choose it and to look for it because it's always there. Like that quote about God being in drag, it's just looking for where is God or source in this, and it's there. And this isn't about channeling, but just remembering that our patterns are literally just loving invitations from the universe and being like, you want to go again, babe?
Yes.
You want to show up differently,
Yes.
babe?
Or relationships.
Everything.
Patterns in relationships and patterns in work. And I was sitting with a friend recently and I was like, wow, we've been friends for like 10 years. And I was like, damn. Because I was like, I've been talking about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about the same topics for 10 years. And it was just like, I cannot believe, I cannot believe there was things that I still have as a pattern in my life that I'm still gnawing on.
Well, I'm sure it's a deviation, right? Like I'm sure you've made progress.
It's an iteration,
theme,
Yeah.
And then it would be like, what would it look like to really honor this theme as sacred?
Yeah.
And to make, because we want to love and neutralize. We don't have negative crap beliefs or, bad emotions or good emotions. It's really just like a gradient. And what is it? Yeah, it's more or less neutral.
Yeah.
And so, and for me, what's been most helpful is just like everything that we've talked about. I was like, what does it mean to set myself free? Or what is true beyond my identity or my personal investment? And we can see clearly the path.
Yes.
So
I love that question. What does it mean to set myself free?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it mean to let go of this? Because I think mine was lack of clarity. I feel like a lack of clarity on certain things. And I was also thinking about, this was shown to me that my lack of clarity is my fear. Because if I know, then I have to make a move.
Mm-hmm.
If I know, then I have to take a step. And that's more scary than just being unclear. There's like a safety and a lack of clarity.
Because every belief and everything either serves the ego or the soul.
Yes.
We can't just be like, I just release what no longer serves me.
Yeah.
It's looking at, how is this serving? Because beneath every fear is a negotiation tactic from the ego. What you're saying is like, stay small, be a bit safer.
I don't know this, so I can't do anything. Like mine's like with
clarity.
my path. Yeah. It's like, I don't know which way to go, if I should go this way or that way. So it's, I'm not going to do anything. It's like,
yeah. I mean, I definitely see you as somebody that moves forward in life and takes big steps. So I appreciate that you're working on it, but I
usually abuse myself enough, so I move.
Yeah. But then I guess I would just say that all doubt and confusion means we're coming from that false self.
Yes.
And the clarity is always.
Yes. And trust that the soul knows. The soul is never lost. The soul always knows. It's like, it's all perfect.
It's like, I'm good, babe. I got you.
I know. I got you.
Let's go whenever you're ready. No rush.
I know. No rush. Time doesn't exist to me.
No.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I love you so much. I'm so grateful you were able to come on and talk about soul manifesting and channeling and just go into it. I know we always just meet at like, our brains are like, dude, it's like 3 minutes in. We're like, what about
we've moved
quantum?
We've had to really slow.
I know.
We jump around and we can hardly keep up with.
I know. Honestly, my dream in life is to be a little bit more on earth with my thoughts.
Good, though.
I know. We crushed. I love you.
We're professional.
Where can people find you?
BriMelanson.com.
What do you got? Psychic boot camp, baby.
Yeah, Psychic Boot Camp. I really love the 30-day ritual.
Yeah, it's free on your website.
No, it's not free.
Oop,
You gotta
just
pay for it.
kidding.
I do have a bunch of free stuff. So if you sign up for a mailing list,
Cool.
I actually am just creating like a new kind of email series that will have like, here's a breath work, babe. Like here's,
Love
I try to just send things that have value and that you can use and apply. So that I do have a lot of free resources. There is a free training for Psychic Boot Camp on my site. And then 30-day ritual is you do have to pay, but it's got meditations, it's got breath work, it's got the whole practice. You do like 3 simple things a day, and it really shifts. I had somebody come up to me recently after I went to Vancouver to teach, and she was like, I did the ritual and a lot of things manifested. And she was like scared to do another one. She was like, everything was so good, but it like rocked her. She was like, what the hell?
That's so real.
But
Upper
like,
limit.
Ask for it to go slower. You can, we can always say, slower, please.
Oh, I'm more, baby.
Yeah, give me more money. Give me more money.
I'm like, I'm going to do the 30-day ritual for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I want to create an affiliate code for you. My assistants are working on it. So
sounds good, team. Yeah. We'll get you guys a code. Almost 30 is the code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll do almost 30. Almost 30. Mm-hmm. Get that ritual. Okay, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Mm-hmm. We love you. Proud of you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much, Bri. We love you, dog. BriMelanson.com. Bri Melanson on Instagram. There's over 750 other episodes of Almost 30. Share this with a friend. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show. And then almost30.com. We got a new look. We have new branding, new vibe, new aesthetic, new everything. It looks stunning, and I'm so pumped about it.
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you all so much for pre-ordering our book. It comes out in June. You can get incredible bonuses like a Saturn Return companion guide. It is 55 pages that are really going to ground you in this time. We have a ticket to camp if you get 1 copy as well. And then if you get 2 copies, you get a mini masterclass with Krista and I.
We just recorded it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So go to almost30.com/book.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you.